He has not replied since Tuesday. He has been online. She knows this because she has checked more times than she would actually like to tell anyone, including herself. She has rationalized the silence in 7 different ways, each one slightly less generous than the last. By Friday morning, she has stopped rationalizing. She is just waiting. Imani is 31. This is the third time that she has been here. Different man, same Friday morning. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I have been on the side of someone's silence before, you know? Or you're probably thinking, I have a friend who keeps doing this. Or you are probably thinking, I have done this 3 times and I cannot understand why. Now, this is what we're going to be talking about today. Not because I am here to tell you that you have an attachment style. I am not. We will get to why. But because there is something happening underneath the pattern, something that the research can name, that almost nobody on social media is actually naming honestly. Now, I want to show you what it actually is. But before we do that, my name is Remi, and I am a psychotherapy student, and I help you understand why you do what you do. So let's begin. Imani has dated 3 serious men in the last 5 years. Now, if you sat with her and her best friend and a glass of something nice on a Tuesday evening, she would probably tell you they were all completely different. The first one was funny. He made her laugh until her stomach hurt. He worked in the creative sector. He was warm with her family. He called when he said he would call until he did not. Until he did not. The second was driven. He had a plan, and the plan included her, and she liked being inside someone else's plan for a while. He talked about the future on the third date. Then, around month 7, the future stopped being mentioned. And then he stopped being mentioned altogether. The third. The third was the one who, as she said to her best friend, finally felt safe. He was steady, he was present, he had done his own therapy. He said, well, he used the words, I want to do this differently. That is the phrase she remembers most clearly. He pulled away in November. By the third one, Imani is in a state that women in her position know very well. She's asking herself, what is wrong with me? And she is asking it in the voice of every woman who has ever asked it, which is to say, in a voice older than her. Now, let me tell you what the 3 men had in common. It was not their jobs, it was not their height, it was not their politics or their families or their love languages. No, what they had in common was a particular shape. All 3 of them in the first month told Imani something true about themselves. The first one said in a half joke, I am terrible at relationships. The second one said he had not been single for more than 3 months in his entire adult life. The third one, on the second date, I sometimes need a lot of space, and I hope that's okay. Imani heard all 3 sentences. She remembers all 3. She made each one mean something else. Now, let me take you back. Imani is 4. Her mother is on the phone in the other room. Imani has fallen and grazed her knee. And she is crying very quietly because she has already learned that loud crying interrupts the phone call. Her mother comes through eventually, not immediately, eventually. Imani learns before she has the words a particular equation. Love comes, just not always when you need it. So you wait. Imani is 7. Her father is the warmest man in the room. When he's in the room, he travels for work. The week he's home is wonderful. The 3 weeks he's gone is something else. Imani learns that the people who love her are also the people who leave, and that the leaving is not personal, and that the love, when it comes back, is real. She does not know she has learnt this, but 24 years later, when a man in the first month of dating tells her, I sometimes need a lot of space, her body recognizes that sentence. Her body has heard the sentence before. Her body knows what comes next. It is the leaving and the coming back and the leaving, the bit she is good at. Familiarity in matters of the heart is not love, but it can be very, very hard to tell them apart. Now, we need to talk about attachment, okay? We need to talk about it carefully because the conversation about attachment on social media has become one of the most flattened, most misused, most weaponized conversations in the relationship space. I want to give you the version that the research actually supports. In 1969, a British psychiatrist called John Bowlby published a book called Attachment and Loss. Bowlby's idea, right, which felt radical at the time, was this: babies are not just feeding machines. Babies form bonds with their caregivers, and the quality of those early bonds shapes how they relate to other people for the rest of their lives. Now, a psychologist called Mary Ainsworth then developed an experiment, the strange situation, which observed how toddlers responded to brief separations from their mothers. From that work, three early patterns were named: secure, anxious, avoidant. Then in 1987, two researchers, Cindy Hazan and Philip Shaver, published a paper in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. The paper asked a question that nobody had quite asked before: does the way we attached as children also describe the way we attach as adults in romantic relationships? Their finding, which has been replicated many times since, was that the same patterns translate. The adult who learned, right, that closeness was reliable tends to do close relationships with relative ease. The adult who learned that closeness was unreliable, right? Who learned that you had to wait, tends to feel more anxious in love. The adult who learned that closeness was overwhelming or unsafe tends to keep distance. That is the science. Now, I want to tell you what the science is not. Attachment style is not a personality type. It is not a label. It is not a fixed identity that explains every relationship you have ever had. Attachment patterns exist on a spectrum. They shift across different relationships. Research consistently finds that they can change, especially with secure relationships and with therapy. Treating yourself or your partner as a fixed category, the way social media has taught us, is not what the research recommends. It is also not what helps. Calling every quiet man avoidant, calling yourself anxious because sometimes you want to be reassured, diagnosing your ex from a TikTok, none of this is the work. The work is much quieter. The work is noticing that when a particular kind of man tells you something true about himself in the first month, your body has already decided to make it mean something else because your body has been here before and it knows the steps. The work is noticing that the chemistry you feel, the spark, the I have never felt this with anyone, is sometimes recognition rather than love. Recognition of a shape your body learned very early. Now, in the model I am training in, we talk about something called a script, a set of unspoken rules a child writes about how love works based on the love she actually got. Imani's script reads: love is real, love is warm, and love also leaves. So you make yourself the kind of woman who can wait. She has been honoring this script since she was 4. The men did not write the script, the men just stepped quite innocently into roles that were already on the page. Now, some questions. Now, I am not going to tell you what your attachment pattern is. I am a psychotherapy student. And even when I am not, that is not how this works. That is a conversation between you and a clinician. Now, what I'm going to ask you is this. When you think about the last few people you fell hard for, what do they have in common? Beneath the surface, not the jobs, not the looks, the shape of how they showed up and the shape of how they pulled away. That's what I'm asking. When someone is fully available, warm, present, replying when they say they will, do you find them slightly boring? Be honest. In the first month with someone new, do you ignore the small things they tell you about themselves, the small honest things, because you have already decided who you want them to be? When you were a child, what was the rhythm of the love that you got? Reliable or come and go? Warm or cool? There when you needed it or there when it suited? These are not diagnostic questions, they are reflective ones. The answers belong to you. Now, here's what I want you to know: the pattern is not your fault, it is also not your destiny. Attachment in the research is one of the most movable things about us. With a secure relationship, with good therapy, with the slow work of letting your nervous system learn that consistent love does not feel boring, it feels safe, the pattern can change. What does not work is willing yourself out of it, reading a book, deciding you will be different next time, downloading the app with the green flags list. None of that touches the place where the pattern lives. The place where the pattern lives is older than the will. Imani is in therapy now. Slow work, good work. Last month, she met someone new. He's steady, he's present. On the second date, he said something kind, and she felt absolutely nothing dramatic. The old Imani would have called it boring. The new Imani is letting herself stay long enough to find out what it actually is. And the third man, the one who pulled away in November, remember? She has stopped trying to make sense of it or of him. She said it out loud last week in her therapist's room. She said, he told me in the first month that he sometimes needed space. I made it mean something else. That sentence took her 31 years, and it was the start. Now, if anything in today's video has resonated with you, please speak to a qualified therapist or a mental health professional. Every reference, once again, I have cited today will be in the description box below this video. This is the third episode of the patterns you cannot see. Next Thursday is the final episode of this series, the one that ties everything together. The voice we hear coming out of our own mouths, the voice we promise ourselves we would never use, the voice of our mothers. I'm Remi Seun-Aladejana, and thank you so much for being here. Bye bye.